Hello, hello. Hey, I'm not Mike Midlow. Hopefully you can tell us apart. Mike is under the weather and he asked me to pass on his regrets because I think that's probably the only thing that would keep him from Fireside, so send him healing thoughts. Apparently the creeping crud is crawling through the county at dastardly speeds, so please no kissing, no sharing glasses. I mean, what you do in your own time, there's that. So I want to welcome everybody to February Fishtrap Fireside. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Shannon McNerney. I'm the executive director of Fishtrap. I'm usually sitting in the back of the room. So I'm excited to get to talk to you all tonight a little bit. Special welcome to all of you who are attending Fishtrap Fireside for the first time. Can I just get a quick show of hands as if this is your first one? Nice, welcome, thank you. And to all the folks that are tuning in on YouTube, welcome. Welcome to you too. Make sure you like and subscribe. Isn't that what the kids say? Yes. So, if you don't know, we do have quite a robust YouTube channel, and you can find all sorts of things on it, including readings and stuff and firesides. It's pretty great. So what are we up to tonight? So Fishtrap Fireside is a monthly reading series that highlights diverse voices from local writers and storytellers. Never forget the storytellers. Each month we offer a fresh group of folks, a fresh look at what people who live here or around here or sometimes near here are thinking about and writing down. So here's how this is going to work. Tonight we have 3 people that are going to come up and read, and they're going to share something that they've been working on. It could be poetry, a little story, something they've written. This month's features readers are really good, longtime friends of Fishtrap, but it is their first time, all of them, first time as featured Fireside readers. So can we give them all, I'm going to introduce them first, but give them a welcome. We have Mary Swanson. Devon Maxwell. And our friend from Summerville, Amelia Díaz Ettinger. So what's going to happen is they're going to come up and read. I'm going to come up and talk to you a little bit in between, let you know what's happening at Fishtrap. You can, we'll take a little break. We'll take an intermission. You can go up and eat some of Jennifer Hobbs's wonderful cookies and get a glass of something that makes you happy. And then we'll have an open mic portion. Each of our open mic readers, and I'm going to say this out loud, you have up to 5 minutes. There's a little timer. Our bouncer will come up and tap you on the shoulder if you go over that. We are full up. Folks signed up. We even had somebody that tried to sneak a number 6 in there. So I love it when it's popular. So they'll have up to 5 minutes to share whatever they want. It's always fun. Sometimes there's a surprise. Be warm. It also takes a lot of courage to do that. So before we get started, I want to mention our sponsors this month. Usually we have local businesses that sponsor Fishtrap Fireside, but this month it's a family. So I really want to thank, and I want you to join me in thanking Larry and Sharon Nall for sponsoring this month's Fireside. Thank you. Buy him a glass of wine. Yeah, thank you. So, shall we get started? Yeah. I'm so excited about this. Are you good? Everybody breathe. I know at least 2 of our folks are pretty nervous, so give them lots of love. So, Mary Swanson. Mary grew up in New Jersey, lived in Michigan for a while, but found her home in Wallowa County in 1988. Same year Fishtrap was founded, my folks. It's not a coincidence, I don't think. After a long career in bookselling, including 32 years at her beloved and our beloved The Book Loft, she's now happily retired. Are you happily retired? Excellent. She loves having more time to read, garden, hike, and try new things, including a bit of writing and Fishtrap Fireside. So please welcome for the first time, Mary Swanson.
Who knew I'd ever be up here? I have 5 pieces that I want to read to you that are kind of a sampler of how retirement has been going so far. The first one is chopping knife. Oh, and I should mention a couple of these pieces came out of workshops that I took from Fishtrap with Lizzie Sloan and with Charles Goodrich. First one's called Chopping Knife. It's a Friday in March 2020. I am madly disinfecting surfaces around the bookstore as the threat of the coronavirus looms large. By Monday, I realize I will have to close my shop indefinitely. Chop. Despite a 2-month closure and the growing pandemic, in June, I sell my bookstore and retire after owning and running it for 32 years. Chop. In July, my husband is diagnosed with an aggressive cancer. 5 months later, he dies, 6 days before our 41st anniversary. Chop. By the following June, I have cleared out 25 years of accumulated stuff from 5 outbuildings and our house, sold our small farm, and moved to town. Chop. 1 year, 3 major life events, plus pandemic. And through it all, I chop. Veggies, fruit, nuts. I cook and bake my way through. With knife in hand, I have something definite to deal with. No speculation or worry about whether things will work out or what to do next. There's a pile of food that needs to be made smaller, divided into pieces with the goal of creating something new that will be sustaining and possibly even delicious. Like the life processes I'm going through, there's a lot of cleaving and reassembling going on. With a sharp blade, I forge along, realizing there's no going back, no undoing. The visitor. You know how it is. You are awakened in the night by some sound out in the yard. It repeats. What is it? Too dark to see, even if you do get up and squint out the window, or go outside. It might be a bear. But wait, you tell yourself. You live in town. You've never heard of any bears in town. Surely the neighborhood dogs would frighten a bear. And yet, this is what comes of living alone and being, I'll admit it, a bit of a scaredy cat. But with the dawn, thoughts of any imagined creatures vanish. And then, one afternoon, there was a knock at my door by a neighbor. Did you know there's a bear in your yard? No, I did not. He kindly walked around the yard with me, checking in all the corners for a sighting of the creature last seen heading my way. Finally, he pointed up into one of the trees, and there he was. But not scary, more scared. A small cub perched in a notch of branches. Soon, there were police, neighbors, gawkers who had heard it on their scanners, and finally, ODFW. We were so many, and he was so small. It was decided to let him be overnight and give him the chance to reunite with Mama or just wander off. Until dark, I went from window to window, watching to see where he was and what he was doing. As soon as the crowds left, he wandered down and soon found my plentiful supply of windfall apples. He would eat one, then scamper back to the tree, then repeat the process. After a bit, he retreated to his safe spot and conked out for a nap. Pretty darn cute. In the morning, I could see he was not in his spot in the tree, so went outside to reconnoiter. Oh, good, he must be gone, I told myself. Yes, surely Mama came back for him, a happy reunion ensued, and now they're back out there somewhere, away from the hazards of town. But no. I soon spotted him up in the apple tree, comically providing an acrobatic show. He seemed to be settling into the amenities of my yard. And while super cute and quite amusing to witness, that was all I was doing, checking on where he was and what he was up to. This clearly was not going to work out for either of us. What to do? A call to ODFW was made, and they advised me that they would come and get him and return him to a more normal location. As I waited for them to arrive, I noticed that my small visitor, rested and well-fed, was now feeling a bit braver and was heading to the front of my house toward the road. No, I said, that's not good. I stepped outside and he retreated. Now he headed across towards the neighbor's yard. Not good either. Where are those ODFW guys? I again headed toward him, and again he retreated, this time to his safe spot in the tree. I felt bad at his impending upheaval, and I told him so. He just stared down at me. Shortly after, the rescuers appeared and did their job in efficient and humane manner. After the furry little guy, yes, they checked his parts and determined this, was tranquilized and carefully carried towards their vehicles, I was able to see him up close. Quite small indeed, but with fairly large paws and claws. Yeah, he was cute now, but he was going to grow into something not quite as cuddly. I gave him a few light pets, wished him well as they took him off to a better location out in the woods. Now 3 short ones. This one's called At the Loom. Start with relaxation. Take your shoes off, sit down at the bench and get comfortable. Then add some tension, tighten the warp. Press the pedals and observe the threads move into an open shed. Pick up the shuttle, its dangling thread attached to the work in progress. Toss it through the opening from right to left. Don't pick up any extra threads. Release the shed and beat the threads tight, twice. Now repeat in the other direction. Remember to change pedals. Be amazed as cloth forms before your eyes. Excuses. I'd like to come see you, but I can't miss the sight of the baby quails scurrying across the yard. The snow peas are blooming. Today a blossom, tomorrow they're needing to be picked. And the milkweed on the patio is filling my whole house with its fragrance. So I can't come to you just now, while the mornings are so fresh and filled with warbler song, and the sunlight is perfect for rocking on the front porch with my book. And the last one is called The Mirror. A brilliant fall in northern Michigan last year. Traveling through many small towns, I was drawn into every bookstore that I saw, of course. In Glen Arbor, one particularly appealed. A small shop, but nicely stocked with good stuff, interestingly displayed. After browsing, I inquired at the front desk about a particular title and was told it was out of stock. Then, from the side of the counter, I heard, "Can I recommend something else?" I turned to the second bookseller, who was clearly the owner. "Sure," I said, "what do you got?" She launched into her pitch, describing a recently read favorite, and I found myself in an oh-so-familiar situation. As she set the hook nicely, I said, "You had me at historical fiction. I'll take it." As I left the store, I smiled to myself as I realized I had come full circle.
You did it. How many of you think this is not her last reading? My goodness. Why'd you wait so long? Thank you so much. Quick thing, when Mary had her yard sale, I picked up a picture. My very first crush in the whole world was Andy Williams. I was 5. And we walked into Mary's house. She had a signed picture to her of Andy Williams that is now in my house. So if you ever want to visit, something we have in common. I was 5. So, proof that summer's coming. Summer Fishtrap registration is open, if you can believe that. We've already sold 70%, 60% of the seats, so we do have some wonderful things happening. I hope you can check out what's coming. A couple things that are open and free to the public. Our keynote speaker is our good friend, Ellen Waterston, who will be back in the county for an evening reading. And we're also going to have those nightly feasts on the lake. So that's June 23rd through 28th. And it's coming, and if you're interested in registering, check out at fishtrap.org. You can certainly come and talk to me at the break if you have questions about Summer Fish Trap. And case in point, I just am going to ask this. How many of you in here have taken a Summer Fish Trap workshop? Look at this. Talk to one of these folks at the break, too. So, excellent. Thank you. Okay. Somebody else who's nervous. We love you. You're going to be fine. Devon Maxwell is a writer, a civil servant, and a researcher plotting a matriarchal takeover one story at a time. I'm signing up. Writing across nonfiction, fiction, and children's literature, she explores what happens when feminist ideals crash into real-world politics and what the world might look like if women were actually in charge. Her work examines the gap between policy promises and lived reality, especially for women and families in the current political climate. By day, she's a paralegal. By night, she chairs the Wallowa County Democratic Party. Devon lives in the historic Fishtrap House. It used to be called the Coffin House, but apparently it's been renamed, here in Enterprise, with her husband, their son Monroe, whom you've seen wandering around, and a small army of rescue animals, and one very friendly ghost whom we know well. We suspected it's Gwen, but we're being told that it might be Gladys Coffin. So with excellent taste in real estate, please come on up, Devon. We're excited to hear from you.
Thank you so much for having me here. I want to start with an apology for anyone that came here wanting to get away from politics, because I'm going to read an essay about politics. I'll be reading my essay, Presence as a Confrontation, which I wrote as a reflection on being doxxed and threatened by a local group that liked to write fan fiction about me on Facebook. The full essay with references and receipts is available on my Substack if you are curious. Also, before we begin, I have a few disclaimers. This essay is a reflection of my personal views and not any organization I'm associated with. And there is a trigger warning. This essay contains a brief mention of violence against women, about me specifically, and involves a man in Joseph who threatened to beat me with a sex toy. I've had quite the time thinking about this situation, and I absolutely respect your decision to leave or not listen any further. And finally, for reference purposes that will make sense in due time, I stand before you about 6 feet tall, which is an important metric for this coming essay. So, that's all I'll say. Okay. To politically organize as a young woman in Eastern Oregon is to inhabit a landscape of ongoing ethical inquiry. The central question that lives rent-free in my head is no longer how to build power, but what kind of society takes shape when power is anointed by harm. I did not come into public service seeking harmony or ease. I came with the understanding that democracy, if it is to retain any meaning at all, requires labor, unglamorous, unrelenting work of truth-telling, coalition building, and nurturing belonging in places where hope is endangered with isolation. What I did not fully anticipate was that violence would not be peripheral, but procedural. Not the detritus of conflict, but the architecture of a practice. And perhaps most disorienting of all, it is not hidden, it is not ashamed, it is ritualized. Philosophers call this normative inversion, a condition where the moral compass reverses itself, where cruelty passes for conviction, where deceit masquerades as strategy, and where repetition and volume displace truth. Public life begins to crumble under the weight of its own performances. In such a society, the depraved becomes mundane. Threats and harassment no longer shock. They hover ambient like clouds around the mountains that greet my every morning. A man can say I should be beat with a 6-foot dildo, not in rage, but in ease, in the tone of someone certain there will be no consequences. A brief aside, as one does when they receive a threat of violence, after thorough research, I've concluded that executing such a threat would be logistically improbable. For the low cost of $999, which frankly could fund a more sensible late life crisis, one could indeed purchase a 6-foot dildo. However, the mechanics of wielding such a device as a weapon remain unclear. Does one grip it at the base like a baseball bat with the balls resting just beneath the hand? And given the elasticity, one can imagine the assailant being tragically struck in a whiplash. Well, one can only hope. On a serious note, what unsettles me most is not the threats themselves, but the poise with which they're delivered. A poise not built on principle or integrity, but on the repeated absence of accountability. In this lawless void, a community's moral scaffolding begins to erode, and power begins to shelter the rogue instead of the ordinary. This is not simply a clash of political perspectives, but a rupture in the moral imagination of society. What I am witnessing in parts of the Republican Party is not a contest of ideas, but the erosion of the conditions that make such contests meaningful. Reason is displaced by spectacle. Governance resembles theater. And what is called politics often bears a closer resemblance to pathology, or rituals designed to preserve grievances of conservative values in a blue state as one's entire identity. But beneath the noise lies something far more basic: fear of irrelevance. It cloaks itself in flags and slogans in the iconography of rugged defiance, but recoils from the simplest acts of moral courage. I've seen protests met not with argument, but obstruction, cattle trailers attempting to park in block gathering spaces as though mass might outweigh voice. A true tragicomedy, the idea that intimidation can substitute for legitimacy. Alas, being here means anticipating foolishness and arriving first, standing where silence was expected, and in that presence, we disrupt something more fundamental than politics. We disrupt the illusion that fear had already won. In places where speech is meant to be stifled, presence itself becomes confrontation. What lingers longest is not the cruelty, but the void where moral restraint should be. When neighbors are harassed for dissent, when dehumanizing rhetoric circulates without rebuke, and when women are threatened into silence, the true scandal is not what is said, but what is tolerated. The silence that follows is not accidental. It's not born of confusion. It's patterned, predictable, and over time it becomes structure. It becomes complicity. Today, I struggle to understand how one holds a mirror to those who have forsaken reflection. What dialogue is possible when politics becomes a pantomime of grievance, a recursive performance uninterested in understanding. Beyond a simple lack of accountability, we are witnessing the deliberate undoing of humanity. And so I ponder a deeper question. What becomes of a community where language is severed from ethics, where freedom is invoked not as mutual responsibility, but as a cudgel to enforce exclusion, where rights are not shared but hoarded? In communities where cruelty circulates more freely than conversation, participation itself becomes suspect. The message is rarely said outright, but always implied. You may live here, but you do not belong. Not if you insist on seeing clearly. Not if you speak too plainly. Not if you spit in the face of intimidation. The consequences are chronic. Years of ostracization, disinformation campaigns, the slow corrosion of one's public dignity and private safety. What troubles me is not just that it happens, but that it happens so predictably that it begins to feel inevitable, that my staying might be mistaken for endorsement of the pain that staying has required. Because if the price of engagement is isolation, what are we asking of the next generation? What quiet warnings are encoded in the soil of our communities? Are we truly meant to suffer our way into belonging? One could say this is the paradox of democracy, but I call it the perversion. To live here is to live in tension, the desire to speak the truth versus the knowledge that truth-telling may endanger you. It is to see your presence itself become provocative, not because of what you've done, but because of what it reminds others that their story is not the only one. Yet we persist, not because we are promised progress, but because there are values worth the risk. Even when that truth is grotesquely reduced to a sexual threat, it reveals a deeper fear, not of us, but of what we represent. I did not volunteer to become a symbol. I did not arrive to be defamed, threatened, or rendered a cautionary tale. I came to contribute, not to be consumed. And I do not seek martyrdom for rural democracy in a culture that conflates suffering with sincerity. I seek a democracy that does not require martyrdom. I want a world where civic participation is not treated as provocation, where public life is not rationed according to ideological obedience. I am not here to persuade those committed to illusions. I am here to outlast their delusions. And I will not surrender my place in the future, not to protect someone's comfort, and not for the lie that silence equates to safety. When harm becomes habitual, neutrality becomes fiction, and there is no terrain untouched by consequence. Because in the end, we each face a decision to resist or to become, by our passivity, part of the machine we once claimed to oppose. As for me, I choose resistance.
Thank you, Devon. I just want to be hit something on the head. First off, I want to thank you for the reading, but also just be aware that as Devon did indicate, she's not speaking from a position of fish traps. We don't take political viewpoints. And I've also told folks in the past, and I will say it again here, the only folks who are not welcome to read at Fishtrap are the people that say somebody shouldn't be welcome to read at Fishtrap. So please know, if you have something to say, you have a space here. That goes for everybody, by the way, so me too. I'm gonna go home now. No, okay. So speaking of stories, storytelling is universal. Each of us, no matter our background or our culture or our education, has been formed and informed by the stories we encounter. The art of oral storytelling, which we're starting to pursue here a little bit, it predates podcasts, television, movies, radio, and the printed word, and it expands beyond passports, borders, and regimes. So, welcome Winter Fishtrap. On Winter Fishtrap, Monroe's had it, so he has something to say. Winter Fishtrap is coming on February 27th and 28th, and we're gonna take that weekend to talk about and learn about and practice oral storytelling. The art of oral storytelling, how it helps us retell our American story and shape our understanding of the present. Also gonna work on how we listen to those stories. Plus, you're gonna learn how to tell your story and be inspired by some of the best storytellers in the West, including, check this out, folks, Eric Brayman, who was last year's writer-in-residence, Jason Graham, A.K. Mosley Wada, who some of you know, Deborah Magpie Erling, who is, amazing, and the wonderful Robert Stubblefield. So they will be here for 2 days. I want to give you a little preview. There'll be an opening workshop with Eric and Jason that is open to anybody. You can come in. These are not writing workshops, by the way. You might do a little writing, but these are not writing workshops. Come on in at any age or ability. They're open to teenagers. But you'll get to spend 3 hours with Eric and Jason doing a little storytelling work. And at the end of that, we're going to invite you back Saturday night to do a showcase for folks. On Saturday day, we're going to do, let me back up. Friday evening, there'll be an opening reception with performances from those 4 wonderful folks. That is a not to be missed event. So that will be Friday on the 27th. Reception will open at 6. And then all day Saturday, you're going to get to hang out with all 4 of those folks. And they're going to be doing different exercises with you. Again, even if you don't want to stand up and perform, this is going to be a great opportunity for you to play. You can pick which event you want, or you can sign up for the whole thing. Fish Trapper registration is just $100 for the weekend. Check it out. We're excited about this. This is February 27th and 28th. Again, come talk to me if you have questions, and I hope you'll consider joining us. Now, there we go. Amelia, she's around here somewhere. There she is, hanging out in the back. I'm so excited that she came and joined us. Amelia Díaz Ettinger, as she told me earlier, is a poet and prose writer whose work explores landscape, memory, and cultural inheritance. Born in Mexico and raised in Puerto Rico, part of America, she now lives in Eastern... She now lives in Eastern Oregon, where the rural West deeply informs her writing. She is the author of Between, a collection that moves across physical and emotional terrains between languages, geographies, histories, and generations, asking how place enters the body and how memory reshapes the land we inhabit. Her previous books include These Hollowed Bones, Learning to Love a Western Sky, Self-Dissection, Speaking at a Time, and Fossils on a Red Flag. Her work has appeared widely in journals and anthologies. She's a longtime participant in Oregon's literary communities, including Summer Fishtrap. She's a good friend of ours, so please welcome Amelia Ettinger to the stage.
Thank you, Tammy. Yeah, from 6 foot to 5. No.
Are you good?
So I need a booster seat. Thank you. Thank you for, wow, what a wonderful crowd. And thank you, Shannon and Fishtrap, to invite me here. What a privilege this is. The poems I'm going to read tonight are from my latest book, Between. And people ask me, why Between? Whoa, I almost fell down. Okay, this needs to go back. This book is called Between because for me, those moments that matter usually happen in that space between human and nature, between human and animal, between safety and loss. My first poem is called The Deer Woman. Kind of a hopeful poem. Soon the valley will be full of snow, and light from a sun doesn't burn, doesn't bite. A light that enters with this calm will dizzy me. I look through the wet windows. They are stained with liquid sequins. No sound penetrates this gray. My heart understands this rhythm. It is the light of November, augury of shadow, winds of snow, of stale kisses that taste of bitter coffee. A silent doe searches under, buzz in the dullness. Her tremulous steps whisper the marvel of her round bones under her matted coat. The light calms her and alerts her. Orphan light, the light of deer, of women, of calmness, and eventually of ruin. The next poem is between following and being followed. It's a true story. Tracks on the snow at Highway 204 tollgate. I follow a wolf in this early snow. I pause where he paused, turn as he turned, a stalker on thin skis. A print firm, a single line, a necklace in diamond white. A footprint is a reverse step, but here the reverse is reverential. I could feel his eyes and taste his moves, teasing me further into the woods. I lost his trail once and found I had gone in circles. Touché, I thought with a smile. Here were the ghostly screams of a snowshoe hare, quick saunter from solace. By a tree well, I sat and watched the filigree lace left by a tiny mouse. Such a quiet yet eloquent mark. I grabbed my poles and wished my tracks were not these long, graceless scars. For me, between also is in the layers, the ones that protect us and the ones that keep us from seeing. All the organisms mentioned in this poem are extinct or in the process of being so. Out of paradise. A Solano flower posing on top of his blade of grass can feel the warm dust of a freeway at high traffic. People walking on concrete can't hear the gentle cracking of a spruce fir moth spider or see the blue of a Palo Verde's butterfly caught in the light of a red pine bark. Too many layers separates us. A supermarket parking lot, a cart full of plastic bags, an ocean of hunger, away from the crystal veins of a Heinz emerald dragonfly, or the watery bowl of a Pacific Northwest truffle. Fruiting body against loud conversations. Television forfeits the murmur of trees at dusk. Layers of separation hide stars at night. The computer screen light blinds the loneliness of a mussel on a rock at low tide. The Sumatran rhino died. But the klaxon horns intensify. We cannot stop. We can't mourn what we can't see. Too many layers, we layer ourselves out of paradise. You know, I was going to read a different poem, and I wasn't going to read this one tonight, but after Devon's essay, I thought about this, about being caught between the layers of culture, which is, I think, many of you can hear in my voice, I represent. Sublimation from neglect. I am forgetting words, native words, first language words, words filled with mother's milk. They left without notice, sin adios. After all, the A is two. Dios is God. One day they stood and disappeared like this morning's fog, thick and eloquent like soup. So quickly insubstantial, I wonder if I dreamed the fog, the words, simple words like hum and antimony. What made me think of them? Their absence? I want the need for their song. And I would like to finish with this poem that is in between darkness and light. Nightcap. Before indigo, there is the darkness that spans half a lifetime, open to stars and scintillating voices that reverberate through sleek landscapes, barren of shapes, but figures are made, phosphorescent like memories. Aggregates of time spent near campfires that send red shooting sparkles towards the heavens, and heavens that scurry to engulf them. Thank you.
Now you know I was excited. I want to, before I send you off to your break, can you just join me in thanking everybody one more time for their readings tonight? I also want to say, if you had a good time tonight, please, if you can, drop a buck or two in a fish. It does really make a big difference to us. We do appreciate it. I also want to let you know March is Women's History Month. And each year we really try to, well, we did tonight too, but try to take pride in featuring women writers. So next month, our featured writers are Melissa Bush, Beth Estock, and Madeline Lau. They're all Fishtrap Fireside favorites, and you won't want to miss that. So that'll be the first weekend in March, and that's coming up soon. So the open mic is filled. I was going to tell you to take a look, but don't do that. We'll be back here in a few minutes, and go get yourself something to drink. Congratulate these fine writers, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.